Hello, a very warm welcome to Middle East Matters. I'm Sanam Shantier. Coming up on this week's show, a new approach to Egypt as Donald Trump welcomes President Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi to the White House. Human rights is left off the agenda. The Islamic State group have been using drones to drop bombs on Iraqi troops. Government forces have now adopted their tactic against them. Plus, a one-on-one interview with Gardenia, a woman white helmet, a civil defense group that came to prominence for their work rescuing those trapped under the rubble in Syria. We start with Egypt's president, who made his first official visit to Washington on Monday since taking power 3 years ago. Abdel Fattah Al-Sisi gave his US counterpart Donald Trump firm backing, vowing to work together to fight Islamist militants. The meeting of the two leaders, however, did come at the expense of human rights in the region, a topic that was left out of discussions. Rebecca Rossman reports.
After years of rising tensions between the US and one of its key Middle East allies, the White House on Monday expressed a change of heart towards Egypt.
We agree on so many things. I just want to let everybody know, in case there was any doubt, that we are very much behind President Al-Sisi. He's done a fantastic job in a very difficult situation.
But when pressed about Al-Sisi's human rights record, Trump remained silent. The Obama administration distanced itself from Al-Sisi's military government after it held a crackdown on protests across the country, killing hundreds and jailing thousands of other anti-government demonstrators. The move prompted Obama to freeze U.S. military aid to Egypt in 2013, more than $1 billion a year. While it was eventually reinstated in 2015, relations between the two countries remained strained. Until now. Al-Sisi was reportedly the first world leader to call and congratulate Trump on his presidential win, and highly approves of his counter-terrorism plans.
I've had a deep appreciation and admiration of your unique personality, especially in the counter-terrorism field, to counter this evil ideology that is claiming innocent lives.
Trump's commitment to re-establishing bilateral relations stems from two common goals: advancing the Middle East peace process and fighting Islamic terror.
This is a relationship that is being built around military and strategic considerations and not around anything else, frankly.
But human rights groups remain vigilant, estimating that Al-Sisi's government has detained at least 40,000 political prisoners.
We'll take a brief look at news from around the region now. Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, on a visit to Baghdad, met with Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi to discuss the fight against the Islamic State group and the future of US troops in the country. Firefighters brought an inferno under control at a tower being built in Dubai's downtown district. According to authorities, no injuries were reported and the cause of the fire has not yet been established. Plus, the remains of a pyramid built some 3,700 years ago have been discovered 30 kilometers south of Cairo. That's according to the Antiquities Ministry. Excavation is still in its early stages, and the size of the 13th Dynasty pyramid has not yet been established. One of the Islamic State group's weapons of choice is not on the battlefield, but above it. The militants have used small commercial drones to drop explosives on advancing Iraqi troops after they launched an offensive to retake the second city, Mosul. But the tables have now turned. Government forces have adopted the same tactic, using drones to drop missiles on the fighters with dead-center accuracy.
It was a weapon of choice for the jihadists, and now the Iraqi forces are using it too. In western Mosul, government troops are targeting Islamic State group fighters using small, remote-controlled drones. Loaded with 40mm grenades, they've proved a valuable weapon.
The operations to retake the building of the Governorate Council began 2 days ago. We sent out a night drone. We spotted a group of 8 IS fighters, and we struck them using the drone.
For months, IS jihadists have been using drones, broadcasting videos said to show strikes on Iraqi forces. So government troops have adopted the tactic, which has proven useful to hit enemy fighters in narrow, built-up parts of Mosul.
We used drones in the western area of Mosul because streets are very narrow. We needed very tactical and precise strikes in the narrow streets so as to avoid civilians and hit the terrorists.
Hussein Muayyad is piloting a drone from a control centre at the back of a van. He says at any given time, 12 drones fly above the city, ready to strike.
The strikes, they're precise and effective at the same time. They spread fear among the enemy. They really terrorise them. They look up at the sky all the time, and the drone distracts them. As soon as they hear the sound, they flee and vanish.
These small devices can fly up to 8 kilometres at a time. Another tool in the government forces' arsenal as they battle for control of Mosul, a devastating offensive that has been ongoing for nearly 5 months.
Next to Syria, where at least 58 people, including several children, have been killed following an air raid that released suspected toxic gas in the rebel-held town of Khan Sheikhoun in the northwest of the country. Dozens more are reported to have suffered respiratory problems. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said it was unclear if the planes involved in the attack were Syrian or those of government ally Russia. Now we move on to a team of volunteers who are in one of the most dangerous places on Earth, doing what the world has refused or forgotten to do. They're, of course, Syria's White Helmets, and they do everything from rescuing people from underneath the rubble to treating the wounded in makeshift hospitals. The civil defense teams have been gaining recognition of late. They were even profiled in a recent Oscar-winning documentary. What you may not know is the growing number of women that are joining the task force. Today, 100 of them are putting their lives at risk to help their countrymen. We're now joined by one of them, Gardenia, and we've actually had to change her name to protect her identity. Gardenia, thank you very much for joining us. We see that you're covering your face to conceal your identity. Does your work with the White Helmets put your life at risk?
Actually, the White Helmets, their friends and families are being targeted in Syria by the Syrian regime. And for their protection, we can't show our identities, where some of them still living in the regime-controlled areas. For those who can show their faces, they don't have families or friends in the regime-controlled areas, while others still have their families. So we, in order not to cause any harm for them, we can't show our identities.
Now, tell us about your role with the White Helmets in and out of the country.
At the beginning, with a previous experience in first responding, I volunteer in the field hospital to help and protect civilians who have been targeted daily by bombs attacks and airstrikes and snipers. And I was providing medical assessment and such as bandaging, sewing wounds, and giving medication, and sometimes to help those who are traumatized in the hospital. And then, unfortunately, I moved from Syria, and this is why now I joined them outside as a liaison officer to communicate and work with them and help them from outside.
You said, unfortunately. Why did you have to leave?
Actually, I couldn't stay there out of some threats of being captured, and the situation was getting harder every time, and I didn't want to be in detention without doing anything. I can't do anything. I can save my life, and I can help the people outside.
And what challenges do you face as a woman White Helmet?
Actually, we didn't face a lot of challenges. It's only the acceptance of the community. So women have been part of the organization since the beginning. At first, it was a little bit anomaly, but over time, we have been accepted and respected by the community after the recognition of the valuable role that the female civil defenders can play in their communities. And that was through the community awareness campaigns, providing medical assessment, and ended up with the maternity care. And also the civil defense was trying to empower women as a key part of the civil defense and to be no longer the victims of the war. The women are powerful and they have a role, and the civil defense is trying to empower women to stop looking at the woman as a victim of war.
Now, some have accused the White Helmets of links with the rebels. Now, you've dismissed the accusations, but why do you think they're pointing the finger at you?
The White Helmets have pledged to serve all the people with neutrality, impartiality, and humanity. And we have rescued soldiers from different sides, including regime soldiers, the Russians, ISIS, opposition rebels, Russians, and Hezbollah. So our mission was to save people in a shorter time. And we don't have time to look for the identities of the people from under the rubble. And we don't care for people's backgrounds. Our work is to save them, to rescue them in a shorter time. And that's why these accusations is not true.
Gardenia of the White Helmets, thanks for joining us. Now that's it for this edition of Middle East Matters. Don't forget to follow us for updates on social media. That's both Twitter and Facebook. Do stay tuned to France 24.